Hello there. Well, it's kind of a mess on the bench over here, but I've gone through another box of some photos that I've taken. Not family photos, they're photos of places I've been. And a matchbook I used to save only as souvenirs. I don't smoke, of course, and I have no use for matches, but each time I stayed at a motel, when I traveled back in those days, in the 70s, I used to take the matches. They used to put them in the rooms at the motels. These, I stayed at a lot of Holiday Inns. When I was in Wheeling, I'd stay at the downtown Motor Inn, and they'd have these advertisements on the matchbook covers. LB's restaurants, I believe they're the ones that have that big strawberry pies they used to make with the big full strawberries in them. These are, as you can see, I never used the matches, but I saved these as souvenirs. I would also, the small bars of soap that they would leave in the rooms, I would take those as souvenirs only if they had the motel name on them. Not so much the Holiday Inn, because you stay at one, they're pretty much the same. But like if it's a small hotel or motel, I will take them. Then you've got your Howard Johnsons, and I've stayed at a few of those. A lot of Wheeling, of course. And I've stayed at, you have to excuse me, I got to read these here. The Bell Springs Manor on Interstate 80, exit 26. In McKaysville, PA. Apparently I stayed there. I don't remember it, but I did stay there. And back in the days when I used to go to Wheeling throughout the 1970s, from 1970 to 1978. Great Meadows Motel on Uniontown, PA. Sometimes they have something written inside the covers, but these don't. R&R Motel in Danville, West Virginia, Route 119. I've stayed there. I'm sure these places are long gone. There's another R&R. I have a lot more. They're just buried somewhere. Here's one that's very hard to read. Black on black, but I'll read it to you. Zeke's Towing and Auto Salvage Incorporated. Holliesburg, PA. And I think I might have had some trouble with my 63 Galaxy, and I pulled in there to have some work done. I don't remember. You could probably read that, I guess. I'm on an angle, so I'm using the the play touch rather. So it's very, very difficult for me to get you in screens. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, this was taken in an arcade that I was a manager of in the early 80s, 1981 up to 82, I believe, called the Twilight Zone. It was in Groton, Connecticut, and it's not one of my favorite jobs. I did not like working there and dealing with the wise punks and everything else. I never liked gaming. I never did of any kind. Uh, but I took some pictures, but they didn't really come out too good. Off camera again. I'm trying to stretch my neck over to see the viewfinder, and I'm looking at the pictures. They're really upside down too. We had all these machines, Donkey Kong and Frogger, and I can't read that, what that is. I used to know them all. We had like 30 machines in there. Tempest. I just figured I'd take some, one night when it was real slow, I just took a bunch of photos. I don't know why I'm saving them. I never liked working there. But it was, at the time I was working there, it was a pretty good paying job until they wouldn't renew their equipment. And so I had to take a pay cut because the business wasn't too good. And the bad part about it was I just took out a loan and I was paying on that. So things weren't going too good for me. That was after I was working at Aikens. This is, if I can only get myself in camera here. This was the floor as it looked. You had games on each side and down the middle. And along the wall. I had to manage it, close up, get the money, and deposit it. At the time we were using cash, and then we went to tokens. So, yeah, that's a job, like I say, I didn't really like. Alright, this was 1981 Ford van pictures. When I customized the van, I have a video on YouTube about this, but these are the snapshots I took. I believe I had the Pentax K1000. It's all manual camera. I built that all myself. The only thing I did not do is the cushions there. I had a upholstery shop do the cushions for me. It was 5 or 6 inch thick foam rubber. I got that from a place called Weintraub's. They sold foam rubber and fabric back in the 70s and 80s. All this was paneling. The lights in the corner were homemade out of Luan plywood. Here, before I showed all this on video, but we'll show it again. 8-inch woofers in the back in the corner. Because on this one here, you can see the grills on them, but it was not finished. These are not in order. This was all done in pine board and square nails. The square nails were done in for looks. It was also nailed, but I drilled and put square nails in various places to make it look authentic. This is all padded here with 2 or 3 inch thick foam. The ceiling, there was a temporary light hanging here so I can work. I made the ceiling out of 1/4-inch Luan panel, glued on the, am I on camera? Glued on the foam and then stapled the vinyl over the top of it. There was a partition here, and to go through these curtains here, and then you get the cab of the van. And this is the tabletop here, which was Formica. I put that on all myself. I just bought the Formica and did it. I had the Formica cutter for my router, which I no longer have. Here's some more pictures of it. It was so much easier if I scanned these in, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. It takes me more time to do that, and by the time I'm done, I'm too damn tired and I'll lose interest in making the video. So these seats came up, so there was storage underneath, storage under here, which contained the second battery to operate all the lights in there, and a wire running up to the main battery so we can charge the the battery for the back. On the front, it's not here yet, but there was a console which had a crank under the passenger seat and a crank under the driver's seat that I can crank the whole console down and be able to work on the electronics, crank it up. I had a stereo in there, a graphic equalizer, all low power, radar detector built in, alarm system with a complicated switching arrangement so that nobody can tamper with it because it would still go off, and mood lighting for the back of the van. Here is the console I was building in the cellar. Off camera again. I'm looking at the picture, and it's hard for me to remember that I'm recording this. I built this in the cellar of the Broad Street house that had the attic workshop. So I built this out of 1/4-inch plywood, formed it all to fit the contour of the van. Here's another picture of it. Here's another picture of the inside of the van. There's another angle of that console. And here is another angle of the, you're looking at it from the side view of the doors open. In other words, the doors would be right where my finger is down here. Over here, I had a little cabinet where I set my 5-inch color TV on, which I still got to this day. This was a little ice box. I have all these. I always liked the old style. I love this stuff. I love this dark wood and the old rustic hinges and stuff I had on it. And it was stained dark and varnished, and it was insulated, so you can put a little bag of ice. It wasn't very big, but it held your sodas. I only drink soda. I don't drink beer. Yuck, yuck. It kept the drinks cold. When I met my wife, we would go camping in this. We had a porta potty in here. I built this before I met my wife, but we did go camping in it shortly before I got rid of it. It's a 71 Ford. Outside of the van needed body work, and I'm no good at painting. I don't have the equipment or the place to paint or the money. Never did. But I did all the inside of the doors with the vinyl and the foam rubber and the little buttons that just screw in, snap a cap over them. So that's the outside. A little more. And there's the 5-inch TV color. that I had on that little stand. There's a 12-volt outlet here, cigarette lighter, which ran to the battery that was in the back. This is a coax connected 75 ohm for the rooftop antenna, which I made out of stainless steel. A friend of mine made the antenna at where I was working. I knew some people over at the maintenance shop. I knew the tin knockers, they call them tin knockers. I knew the carpenter and all those, an electrician. So I knew them all because I worked there, and they made up an antenna and out of stainless steel for me because that's what they had, and I had them form it the way I want, but it was short, so it was really only good for UHF, but it worked very well, and I used that for camping. I just plugged it in. It ran on 12-volt cigarette lighter, as well as a cord to plug in. So that's the countertop, and that's the little icebox door below that. And another shot of it. At some of the stores, I think it was Kresge's at one of those places, I got these velvet pillows. And I thought I'd stick it in there. It's kind of like traveling cat house, you know. Well, it was I didn't do anything in that department. I was never lucky that way. So anyways, this is my bedroom. This is my AR turntable. The best turntable I ever had. The AR is noted for virtually no rumble at all. There's my Sony CF550 boombox, the very first one I owned. That cost me a lot of money on time payments. There's all my videotapes, my AR2AX, one of them here, and you probably can't see the other one there. And this is the van with the table up. When the table's down and you take the spindle out from the middle, you would have a bed. And there was a cushion that laid on top of this that was the same hexagonal form as the table and dropped down, and there was virtually no seam there, very little. And the foam was kind of firm, so it really didn't sink in. If you kneeled on it, you sank about halfway down. It wasn't real soft foam. Okay, this here's some snapshots I took at the Hank Snow show, Ernest Tubbs show, 1982 or 83. I was not sure. At a place called a Stepping Stone Ranch. I believe they were in Rhode Island. It's been many years. So these are all snapshots I have taken. And of course at that time I was recording them too with a cassette recorder. Don't remember the recorder I was using, but it was a better quality. I think it may even have been the JVC 1636, which is a very good recorder. To this day, as far as I know, my buddy, I haven't seen in 4 or 5 years or more, Rusty Chapman, has it. Well, those are the days. That's Hank Snow right there. These are the days that you could go into any show, whether it be at a carnival or a fair, whether you could go or in an auditorium, whether it was in a school auditorium or whether it was on a campground, or was it any place like that, and you could record, and they never bothered you. You know, nowadays everything is terrible. That's why I love the good old days. Life was better. And not to scare you, but this is me in 1981 when I was down in Tampa, Florida at my cousin Rose's house when they were living in Tampa back in 1981, 81, I believe it might even have been 79. So that's the old goat when he was a young goat. what I used to do I had some friends that I would bring movies and slideshows over to their house and put on a show for them. And I had my good buddy Dave, who passed on, and some CB friends at the time in the 70s. And we all would pick a time that I would put a slideshow on it. And you know, it's an old saying, nobody wants to watch somebody else's home movies. But these were not home movies as per se. These were vacation movies, and people really probably didn't even want to see those. But to be polite, I guess they let me do it. I used to hang around over there. This was when I lived on Broad Street, and at the time I was in CB in the 1973, 4, and 5. And here's the story, ladies and geraniums. When I would go to Wheeling, West Virginia, I would stop along the way to different places. I told you this in the other video. I would take videos, slides of places like Gettysburg, Valley Forge, Fort Ligonier in Pennsylvania, Oil City in Pennsylvania up near Lake Erie, the flagship Niagara up in the Lake Erie. I love history. I was no good at it in school, but if I'm actually at the place, I'm more interested in it. Gettysburg was one of the best places that I've been to in history. I take a lot of slides. I bring home a lot of brochures, and I'd read from the brochures and put them on audio tape. And I match them up to the slide that is related to what I'm talking about. Now, this particular one is slide narration from a 1974 vacation. So I don't exactly know what it is. I've got one in here now that we'll rewind it a little bit. This is a slide narration tape. Now, this was done in the early 70s. Okay, before I made that thing up that I had mentioned in other videos that I gave to Dan Blue Lights. And what that is an amplifier for playing the recorded narration that I've got on tape. In the left channel, the narration would come through and come out the speakers as monaural. I had a speaker system that would go under the screen that I built. The right channel contained a tone, which goes to the right channel of the amplifier that's in that console that I built, that Dan has, or had, was rectified on the audio output, filtered, and operated a relay, which in turn triggered the slide projector. It was a Sawyer slide projector. I wanted this thing to work when I can sit back, focus the projector, sit back and watch the show with the audience and not have to do a damn thing until the cassette ran out on one side, which was timed with the 100 slide show that I put on. Now, sometimes the slides were on a little longer, and I try to keep the show at a half an hour max. And then an intermission, I'd go all out. We'd have an intermission, and I'd put the second half of the show on. So let me give you a little listen to this. This video's getting too long.
Dense ooze like mortar that hardens into limestone.
Gotta find the volume control. Where is it?
Caves may form a different kind of rock. Lava tubes, which freeze on the outside while hot molten material still flows through their hollow centers, Sea caves such as the Blue Grotto on the Mediterranean washed out by waves under coastal cliffs. But almost all the larger caves are formed by water moving through pores and cracks in the water-deposited rocks such as limestone. Luray Caverns in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia near the Blue Ridge Mountains of the Shenandoah National Park are a superb example of a limestone cave.
It took me a good month to put a show together before I'd present it. So when I'd go to somebody's house, we have a get-together or something, we come over for coffee and we have pizza and everything else, we'd get the pizza, bring it there, and I'd put on the slideshow. I've done that 3, 4, 5 times. So each year, well, I'm going to put a slideshow on and let everybody know that if you're interested in it, I'd be more than happy to bring it over. So I'd bring my 35mm slide projector over, which was in a case. I'd have a case with the cables and everything in it. I'd have the speaker system, which was about 3.5 to 4 feet long. Dan should have that too. Contained, I believe, 2 6-inch woofers or 2 4-inch woofers, Radio Shack high compliance woofers. It was an acoustic suspension speaker, which I designed by ear with the best sound, and had some tweeters in it. And it was built out of 1/2-inch plywood and foam rubber, 1/2-inch thick foam rubber, and blue vinyl on the outside. I'd carry that over. I had a big case with my Ectosound 245 sound movie projector would be in that. So this thing was a combination of 35mm slides as well as movie films of the Jamboree, Nashville, Tennessee, or whatever I put on. This whole show was actually about 1.5 hours, 2 hours all total. So it was a lot of work, but I loved doing it as long as people were interested. It's the same thing with my comedy things. As long as people love it, it makes me feel good, and I'm more than happy to do it. All right, we take the tape out here. Don't like working one-handed here, but I can't seem to get the tripod. I got this thing here, and I'm limited. I can't pull things back far enough. I just don't have the depth of the bench. All right, we're going to play this one. I'll be right back. All right, we'll put that in there. We got to rewind it. We're not at the beginning. Now, a lot of these tapes, as I said before, were done if I had the chance and was able to do that. Is if I'm going to like Mammoth, I've been to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky. I've been to Luray Caverns. I have been to Howe's Caverns. You might think I'm a cavern nut, but you know what? Usually it's hot when I'm there, and I love going down them caves. It's so cool, and it's 52 degrees the average temperature down there. Let's play this now. See what we got. I'd put music in it, probably get a copyright hit on it. This isn't the best recorder to use.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I'm going to put a show on for you, like I've told you in the introduction in the movie portion of the show, which you most likely have seen already. The slideshow contains the history of all of these different places. Before we begin with the show, actually, we are going to have to convey across to you a few rules that we have always had in these shows.
Isn't this cornball stuff now, folks?
We would appreciate you being seated. Please remain in your seats now, because we are ready to start the show.
Okay, now, you hear that tone? That advanced the slide.
Please stifle yourself.
I told you, I was a real ham, I'll tell you. But they loved it. The people, they loved it. Now, you heard that tone? that is the tone that's generated in the right channel, which is rectified and throws a relay to operate the projector. You heard that tone here because this is not a stereo recorder. Okay, you heard that tone, okay? That was in there. The reason you heard it is because this is playing on a monaural tape recorder. So there's going to be some, you're going to hear it. When I played the tape, I use a stereo, I use that boombox I showed you, machine, but only the left channel is going through the speaker system. The right channel is not heard at all and goes directly to a relay before the, in other words, it's rectified, filtered, and goes to a relay which operates the slide projector and advances the slide, so I don't need a push button to do it. So that's how that is, but you're hearing that tone here. That tone advances the slide for me, and it worked very well.
No smoking. Smoking will not be tolerated in the auditorium at any time.
Okay. I had, and I don't have them slides now, I don't think. Friend of mine was into photography also. He was a elderly gentleman at the time, and he got me into, he helped me a lot on photography, and he photographed a lot of stuff that, like no smoking, and a lot of comic things appeared on the screen. And one of them was no smoking with a guy choking and stuff like that. So these were all comedies. Another one was a picture of the back of somebody's head blocking the screen, and I'd have comments like, please stay seated unless your head is transparent. Please stay seated. And if you have to use the restrooms, you'll have to hold it because the show is not going to be interrupted. So, I mean, I would go on and on and on about this stuff, all on tape. And I would just sit back and just let it go. Here is an example of some of the cornball stuff that I did. So, I mean, I was a clown for many, many years. More years than I can remember.
Smoking will not be tolerated in the auditorium at any time. If you must smoke, you will have to do so at intermission time. The smoke bothers the projectionist. He is a non-smoker. We've had some terrific fires because people have smoked near the film and boom, it went up in smoke. And I want to tell you, it costs quite a bit to take one of these shows here and films and so forth. And the projectionist last year got so sick that he had to go home and the rest of the show was canceled. We wouldn't want that to happen tonight, would you? Okay, wise guy, I heard that. Please keep your behinds on the seats. If your behinds are not on the seats, your heads are going to be in the way, as you can see here, and unless your head is transparent, most heads aren't transparent, by the way, people will not be able to see through it, and it'll therefore interfere with the people in back here. So keep on your seats, and if you have to get up, please duck down. If you get rowdy, you will be heaved out bodily. If you have to use the restrooms, you'll have to wait until this half of the slideshow's over, which is approximately a half an hour, give or take a minute, one way or the other, until you do so, because you will not use it now because the show is already in progress. On September 26, 1974, I left for an 11-day vacation. I packed my bags.
These are pictures of my car, 63 Galaxy.
Into my old Ford.
Yep. Packing up.
Left to New London, Interstate 95. And arrived at Bushkill Falls, just off of Route 209 in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania. That was my first stop. Bushkill Falls, the Niagara of Pennsylvania. Charles E. Peters first opened Bushkill Falls to the public in 1900.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of how I did it. And to look back now, I'll tell you, it was pretty corny, but you know, yeah, it was good times. We had fun. We never offended anyone. Everybody loved it. I mean, you know, these are people that I played tricks on with noisemakers and stuff too. You know, and my cousin Rose and all that family, they have seen these at one time or another. Maybe not every one. But you see, in closing, and I'm taking a long, long time here, there is a lot of things I did. In other words, when I went on vacation, it was a vacation for me, but I wanted to share things, and that's just the way I've always been. I like to share things with people of places I went to, and of course nowadays this would never go over at all, and it's too bad I don't have the slides, but I could never do them on video. It would take me a lifetime to do that because I used to be so experienced with these things. I knew I had the tapes marked, and I had a book that I went by, which tape went with which slide tray. And you noticed some of the tapes that I showed you in the last the audio tapes that I showed you in the last video, it said like code ZZ and code BO or whatever. Well, there was a book that I went by that listed all the songs on the tape because it was hard to write all the songs down and who did them on the cassette inside the case is where I wrote them. So I referred to that book. So if I wanted to listen to a certain tape, I'd look up the code that was written on the outside of the cassette. Well, that's the same way with here. So it's a lot of work. A lot of time went in. And like I said, it took me a month, sometimes longer, to put a show on. So if I'm going in the last week in September and the first week in October, it'll probably be in late October, early November before I'd have the show done. Sometimes it's done sooner than that, but it can take up to a month to do one and get it all together the way I want it. I'd even have a spare projection bulb with me for each one for the film, the projector, the movie projector, and one for the slide projector. I'd have all of that stuff, and I was well equipped. As an example here, I've had a brand new camera that was all out of focus. When I did my first time, I went to Old Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts. So that's what happens with some of these films here. They're not thrown out; they're used as leader material. And I got some more slides here, but I don't have any way to show slides anymore. The slide projector did not get brought over here. Mainly because I just don't have the room for it. If I brought it here, it would be mildewed away in the big shed. So I got dryer sheets in here. So anyways, that's it, folks. There's another Wheeling matchbook. And lots of film splicers for movie film. Okay, I'm going to end this video now. If I find anything more interesting, I'll show you. This is the Amish, what they call Amish. They pronounce it Amish down there. And these are some slides from that. I had a lot of that. This is just a small. These are ones I didn't use in the tray. Okay, folks. I'm going to get going here. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. And thank you for listening to these recordings. I hope you enjoyed them.